This is Mac OS Ken.
COVID pokes the supply chain again. A few notes from the financial front, and Apple's going to need a new design lead. It is Monday, the 24th of October, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Trade Coffee. Get $30 off your subscription plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/macOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. Things may feel smoother these days, but there is always time to mess up the supply chain. A piece from the South China Morning Post says the Foxconn plant in Zhengzhou has ratcheted up restrictions as the city deals with another outbreak of COVID-19. Nicknamed iPhone City, doesn't sound like the plant has seen production disruptions. Rather, the facility has banned all eating in and asked workers to take their meals back to their dorms. The meals will be free, though. Additionally, workers in the division that makes iPhones are being offered transportation subsidies to help with the added back and forth, and an additional 50 yuan per day bonus for reporting to work on time amid the new restrictions. That's about $7 a day US, in case you're wondering. Aside from the dining changes, the piece says the plant has also asked workers to wear a close-fitting N95 mask at all times except in their dorms. So far, so good, it seems. South China Morning Post had a Foxconn spokesperson saying late last week that production in the Zhengzhou campus remains normal without a notable impact from the COVID-19 situation. Good news, bad news on Apple expectations from Cowen and Company. Apple Insider has had a look at some of that firm's expectations for the September quarter and beyond. Like everyone, it seems, Cowen expects Apple to beat the street for the September quarter. I know it's not really everyone, otherwise they'd just be expected to meet expectation. And yet. The December quarter is where things start to get a little dicey in the firm's estimation. Cowen has lowered iPhone unit sales expectations for this quarter from 83 million to 82. They've cut the March quarter a bit more drastically, lowering expectations from 58 million units to 55 million. The firm is looking for good things from Apple's Mac and iPad lines. Cowen thinks Mac sales for the calendar year 2022 could grow more than 5% versus 2021. Meanwhile, Apple Insider has the firm indicating that increasing enterprise adoption of the iPad could help offset decreased consumer demand. As for Apple's services segment, that'll be fine for the September quarter and better in December. For last quarter, Cowen is looking for growth of about 9%. For the December quarter, it'll be a return to double-digit acceleration, with the firm expecting roughly 11% year-on-year growth, driven by holiday spending in the App Store. Cowen and Company has a positive rating on Apple shares. The firm's price target on the shares is $200. Somebody is excited about the opportunity Apple has created for itself with Apple Watch Ultra. And I wish I could tell you for sure who it was. Let's hit what was said, then talk about who might have said it. Apple Insider quotes a note that says the firm quoted still sees long waits for the Ultra, and it likes what it sees. Quoting that note, Apple Watch Ultra lead times have tracked anywhere between 25 to 45 days since initial availability, which compares to the 9 to 30 days for the Series 8 and 5 to 10 days for the SE variants. In our view, we believe the elongated lead times for the Apple Watch Ultra suggest early success relative to customer reception with the newer model. The firm seems to be looking for an extra $10 billion for Apple from the Ultra at the low end, with $38 billion seen as possible. The note has the low end of the range encompassing the upgrade of consumers focused on sports, while the high end of the range encompasses all consumers focused on basic features like better battery life. As for who said it, it's tough to say. The Apple Insider piece had the note coming from JP Morgan, while a separate piece from Apple 3.0 had the note penned by Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani. That they might think similarly is not a surprise, but this isn't that. Both pieces quote one part of the note word for word. JP Morgan has a positive rating on Apple shares and a price target of $200. Evercore also has a positive rating on Apple shares and a price target of $190, except that Apple 3.0 piece says $200, which is incorrect, which makes me think that that site was the site that misattributed the note. We've all done it. Here's one that we know is from Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani. Probably. Posted again by Apple 3.0, this one has the analyst watching Apple TV Plus and trying to figure out what is next for it. While he's impressed by the content offered, he doesn't think that there's enough of it. That'll be taken care of, though, as long as the company keeps cranking out high-quality content. Assuming that, Daryanani and friends see three interesting opportunities going forward. 1. Introduce an advertising-supported option. They think it's logical, but lower probability in the near term. 2. Add more live sports. Higher probability and would serve to differentiate the product further. And 3. Raise the prices. Evercore thinks all three will happen, starting in the middle. They see the addition of more live sports as the most likely next step. Quoting the note, live sports not only provide unique content, but they should also help solve the churn issue facing many services, as the long seasons with weekly games will make it more difficult for consumers to subscribe for just a month or two out of the year. Raising prices and adding ads will happen further down the road in the firm's estimation. Apple needs more content for those to work, though, and that will take time. As mentioned a moment ago, Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $190. If you're wondering what the deal is with all the financial notes, Apple's got a call coming up this week. Numbers for Apple's fourth quarter fiscal year 2022 will be released via press release. That'll happen after the closing bell on Thursday, the 27th of October. Then, roughly half an hour later, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, Apple execs and Apple analysts will hop on the party line and chat it up. You can listen to that as it happens on Apple's site. The company will make it available as a podcast soon after, and of course, we'll hit all the highlights on Friday, the 28th of October. One Apple property that is getting more ads is the App Store, starting tomorrow. Mac Rumors ran a piece over the weekend saying that Apple had notified developers that app-related ads will begin appearing in the App Store's main Today tab and in a You Might Also Like section at the bottom of individual app listings starting Tuesday, the 25th of October, in all countries except China. The piece points out that until now, the Today tab has only featured content picked by the App Store editorial crew, no paid placement. As for the You Might Also Like section, Mac Rumor says developers will now be able to promote their apps on other apps' pages. Legal expert Florian Mueller does not like. He argued on Twitter that it's just another way for Apple to charge developers more than the 15% to 30% commission that they are already paying. His concern is that developers will feel compelled to buy ads on their own app pages to keep competitors from stealing prospective customers. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Trade Coffee. Remember when going out for coffee was nice? That one place, you know the one I'm talking about, on every corner. Yeah, they seem to have forgotten the coffee part of being a coffee shop. These days, I make the best cup of coffee I can find thanks to Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee is a coffee subscription service that makes it so simple for you to discover new coffees and make your best cup of coffee at home every day. No fancy equipment required. Seriously, I am using the same drip coffee maker that I have had for years, and it is making phenomenal coffee because Trade is sending me phenomenal coffee. Want some suggestions? 3 dark roasts I love are Bark at the Moon from Drink Coffee Do Stuff, Nebula by Mother Tongue, and PT's Ad Astra Signature Blend. Start there. Or try something else. Whether you already know what you like or are new to specialty coffee and need some help, Trade makes it easy and convenient to discover new coffees. They'll send you ground coffee or whole beans for however you make your coffee at home. Right now, Trade is offering macOS Ken listeners a total of $30 off your subscription plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/macOSKen. That's drinktrade.com/macOSKen for $30 off your subscription to coffee I am sure you are gonna love. That's drinktrade.com/macOSKen. And thanks to Trade Coffee for sponsoring today's show. Big day of updates today. macOS 13 Ventura and iPadOS 16.1 will both see their initial releases today. iOS will also see an update, revving to version 16.1. A piece from Mac Rumors lists several features on the way for macOS. Among them are Stage Manager, Continuity Camera, Handoff for FaceTime, changes for Mail, changes for Safari, and Mac apps for the clock and weather. For iPadOS, Apple's site highlights a few features. They include Stage Manager, a reimagined Home app, and a weather app for the iPad. As for the iOS update, the piece from Mac Rumors runs through a few features. Among those are activation of the iCloud shared photo library, live activities for third-party apps, clean energy charging, and of course there are plenty more where those came from. All of that plus, you gotta figure security fixes as well. No pushing, no shoving. Be patient. It looks like Apple's going to need a replacement for Johnny Ive's replacement. A number of sites, including Apple Insider, say Evans Hankey, Apple's head of industrial design since Johnny Ive's departure, is herself departing. Citing a Bloomberg report, the piece says Hankey has told colleagues that she'll be around for the next 6 months. No one has said anything about who will take her place, though Apple seems to be spotlighting its deep bench of talent. In a statement to Bloomberg, the Cupertino company said, Apple's design team brings together expert creatives from around the world and across many disciplines to imagine products that are undeniably Apple. The senior design team has strong leaders with decades of experience. Evans plans to stay on as we work through the transition. We'd like to thank her for her leadership and contributions. And finally today, a surprise appearance Sunday by Apple execs Eddie the Butler Q and Tim the CEO Cook. 9 to 5 Mac says the two were on hand with a number of celebrities, including Ed Sheeran and Brad Pitt, at the Formula One Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. A leisurely Sunday afternoon? It probably had a lot to do with business. According to the report, although Apple has not yet secured broadcast rights for Formula One races, the company has struck deals to make a series of Formula One-related projects for Apple TV+. This includes a documentary on Formula One racer Lewis Hamilton and a feature film starring Brad Pitt as a driver, set to be directed by Top Gun Maverick's Joseph Kosinski. Also, Cook was handed an honor that, well, he didn't drop it exactly, but well, Apple CEO was tasked with waving the checkered flag for the final lap of the race. It lacked verve. You can see it for yourself on YouTube. Today on the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, Jeff Butts, managing editor of the Mac Observer, has been playing with the new operating systems that are due out today. He hips us to a few new features, but first, we discuss the 2 new ad slots Apple is opening in the App Store. That is all today on the Daily Observations podcast from the Mac Observer, online at macobserver.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Trade Coffee. Get $30 off your subscription plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.